So it's been more than a month with the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and I thought I knew what to expect. But honestly, there are some surprising changes that actually make a difference. And there is that one feature that I'm totally addicted to that I've been using way more than I thought I would. And it might be that one reason that you might want to upgrade.
So let's talk about the build quality first, because the Desert Titanium finish looked amazing the moment I saw it in Apple Park. But after using it, I actually missed the natural titanium color just a bit more. Now, as a lover of white color smartphones, the white variant just feels timeless on my iPhone 14 Pro Max. But honestly, the titanium sides are the biggest selling point, both on the iPhone 15 Pro Max and this iPhone 16 Pro Max, which is a huge improvement over the stainless steel from the iPhone 14 series. Now, for the past month, I've been using the phone with Apple's official clear phone case with MagSafe, but there were times where I bravely took it off just to appreciate the rear finish of the phone, and it really feels nice to hold without the case on. So my advice is to rock the phone without the case to really appreciate the finish more, but that is of course if you're daring enough and if you're not surrounded by people who talk with the hands waving all over like this, who might knock the phone off your hands like as though they are swatting a bunch of invisible flies. Now, the display was one of those see it to believe it upgrades, because this thinner bezels does make the phone feel like it has way much more screen real estate without being bulkier. Now, at first I thought that this seemed minor, but in a day-to-day use, it does make the phone feel way much nicer to look at, whether or not I'm watching videos or just using the phone for my daily task. Then the one nit brightness level also surprisingly makes a huge difference, especially in a low light settings. Now this is because I dim my house lights at about 9:30 PM and the lower brightness feels very easy on the eyes. Plus the auto brightness adjustments is easily one of the smoothest that I've used. Okay, remember the dynamic island? Yeah, it's been around for a few years, but I still feel that the potential is still untapped. Now, some developers has used it very well with apps like LiveScore, Grab, and the premium but very useful Flighty app. But I do think that this could be more useful with developers, so hopefully developers do take advantage of this, because it is something that I really appreciate daily and is something that I feel that has not been talked enough ever since it was introduced in the 14 Pro series. Now, as for the battery life, compared to the 15 Pro Max, I'm seeing a similar battery life. I set it to stop charging at 95%, where you can think of it as leaving a little gas in the tank just enough to make it back before filling it up again, where this could be adjusted under the battery charging settings. Now, I've tried 90%, but on a heavy usage days, that wasn't enough. And then on days where I'm traveling and I feel too lazy to carry a power bank, I just leave it at 100%, where I got an average about 7 hours and 8 minutes of screen on time when I was about 9% battery. So battery life is great. Probably not the best in the world, but for a Pro variant of the iPhone, I can live with that since I do go to bed early anyway. So the audio mix feature was a feature that I really use a lot. Now, I did do a sound test for each of its features in my in-depth review of the iPhone 16 Plus.
But if you missed that, in a nutshell, it gives you more directional sound for modes like in-frame and cinematic. But the mode that I use the most is the Studio, which turns the microphone quality to sort of a studio mic effect, killing out the background noise similar to a noise cancellation effect without sounding weird like, without sounding weird like you're in a void somewhere. So this was really useful in situations like this. So here is a sound test with it on, and here is a sound test with it turned off.
So before talking about the cameras, I'm going to go through some customizations that I made using this phone daily. Now first, if you notice that the default search icon on the home screen isn't there because I removed it entirely, which does make the home screen look so much cleaner to a point that Marie Kondo will be very proud of me, because it does
spark joy.
Plus, if you really need to use this search a lot, you can just swipe down at the middle of the screen to search anyway. Now, if you want to remove that, just go to the settings, the home screen and app library, then toggle off the show on home screen over there. Then of course, I adjusted the icon tint easily with the new iOS 18 home screen customization, where I switched the icon to the large option to get rid of the app's text. Now, I still do wish that we could remove the text without making the icons large, and before those Android users start typing away in the comments, just stop, okay? And then I turn off my always on display wallpaper because it does give me some paranoia that I didn't lock my phone screen, and it also helps with battery too. Not a lot, but it does make a slight difference. Then my lock screen is also set to show what is next on my calendar, a shortcut to open a new task on Todoist, and a battery widget for my Whoop-Bam. Then below that there is the calculator app and the ChatGPT voice. And speaking of my lock screen, before you ask, this is a picture that I personally took at the Prison Yard Art Gallery in Hong Kong. And if you like it, let me know in the comments below and I'll share a Google link drive for you to download it for free. Then finally, the action button opens Todoist for me. And speaking of buttons, or not button, here's my experience with the camera control. But just before that, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, a nice big thumbs up would be very much appreciated to tell YouTube that this video was okay, and a subscription will be lovely too. Thank you very much in advance as we are on the way to reaching 200,000 subscribers. So I use the camera control about 60% of the time when I use the phone, and I went in depth of what it overall does in my iPhone 16 Plus review, so be sure to check it out. But in a nutshell, I use it for shooting vertical videos quickly for Instagram stories, taking rear camera selfie pictures in both landscape and vertical orientation, and switching lenses when I take photos when viewing the camera app. And I also use the camera control for overhead shots like this, but there is a rumor about a possible half press to focus and lock exposure that might be coming up. So if that is true, that will make this feature even better. Next, let's talk about the camera improvements, because the ultra-wide lenses now has a higher 48 megapixel count compared to last year's 12 megapixel. And yes, the quality has improved, especially at night. Now, as for the main lens, you can expect excellent quality, even up to 10 times zoom, even it's a digital zoom. The natural bokeh on the 5 times zoom lens is still one of the best within the smartphone world. Now, one major upgrade for video is 4K at 120 FPS, which means that when I'm traveling, I can officially leave my Sony a7S III in the studio when I record my videos when I'm going overseas. So this 4K 120 FPS recording is only available for the 1x mode and the 2x zoom mode, so you can't use it for the 5x zoom. But there is a very interesting hack that I found where if you zoom into video at 30 FPS to 5x, and then if you change it to 120 FPS, it switches to 3x mode. Neat trick, right? Now, what's great is that even if you record video at 120 FPS, it plays back in real time compared to recording on a mirrorless camera, which will play back in a more slower motion. Then in the photo app gallery, you can choose when to slow it down or set the percentage for slow motion in the clip too. Now, I've been using the Orico A20 Plus 2TB external SSD with MagSafe to record video files and ProRes log recording. And this has been great because I've been always using the Apple ProRes log recording ever since it was announced in the iPhone 15 Pro series, and even this particular A-roll video and even some of the B-roll videos when I was at Apple Park 2. Now, the reason why I've been using this more on the Blackmagic camera app or even the Final Cut camera app is because that I do notice some drop of frames, and there were some error messages which came up occasionally. So since I am a Blackmagic camera user, this was like second home to me. And I personally felt that even if you're a beginner, you learn to use these two apps so much easier, and it's free. Now, speaking of this Orico A20 Plus, it also comes with a custom USB-C to USB-C cable, where other than this 2TB option, there's also an option for 512GB and also a 1TB option, where they also offer a 3-year warranty too. So this means that technically the amount of storage that I have on this iPhone 16 Pro Max that I'm recording this video is up to 3 TB of storage space. Now, if you're interested in this Orico A20 Plus SSD, I'll leave links down below.
Now, lastly, the feature that I'm totally addictive to, which is exclusive for only the iPhone 16 models, is the photographic styles. Now, I've never used filters like this before on any phone before this, which I only usually do some minor tweaks in Lightroom or Snapseed, and that is about it, right? So yeah, this feels like it's a one-man filter factory with this. Now, when I tried the Xiaomi 14T Pro, I did play around with the Leica filters, but I just love the flexibility that the photographic styles on the iPhone 16 series offers, because you can choose the styles before taking the picture and even edit after the fact. Now, you can also copy the edits and paste them on another picture or revert to the original picture without any edits. And as you can see in these sample photos, the pictures were taken and used with the photographic styles super effortlessly. And if you want to know which styles that I use used in this particular photos. I've posted them in my Instagram where I break down each and every photo on which photographic styles that I've used. Now, if you want a written version of this whole video, there is one at our website at www.adamlovo.tv. Links to that will be down below, where there's also some daily tech news over there too, so do check it out.
Now, throughout my use, only towards the end of this review is when the iOS version 18.1.1 came out, which means that Apple Intelligence is finally available to use. But among all, what I used the most was that cleanup, and I'm very surprised to see how well it did, especially when removing objects that had reflections too. Then the new Ask Siri by double tapping at the bottom of the screen was also really great and helpful when you don't want to use your voice to ask something, and this is super helpful when you're asking something that is way ahead of time. For example, asking when is my next car payment, and it searches my calendar to do so. I also really appreciated the notification summary, which a lot of people have been coming out with different memes about how it does not work well for them, but honestly for me it was really great, where if I got a bunch of notification on Todoist, where I lump up together to come up with a summary of what the notifications were about, and it also works very well for smart home notifications too. Now, other than that, I didn't find myself using the other tools as much on the iOS 18.1.1, so hopefully the next version I would be using that more, especially when I use this phone daily. So, in conclusion, the iPhone 16 Pro Max is an incredible device. Yes, it's not much different from the iPhone 15 Pro or the Pro Max, but here's the thing, it's not supposed to be, because if you're using an older iPhone 14 or even older than that, then yes, this is definitely an upgrade. But if you're interested in seeing my review of the iPhone 16 Plus, check out that video over here.